Hey guys, I'm Murrue. This is What If Naruto Was a Legendary Gundam Pilot, Part 4. While alive, many believe that time will heal all wounds. In death, you will get the chance to meet all those that you love that have passed away before you did. For one man, neither of these sayings are true. This is his story. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel and check the author in the description. Let's start. Chapter 15. Die, yelled Stella as she fired at Epion. Epion easily dodged the attacks as it drew its beam saber, powered it up, and then charged at Gaia. Stella tried to keep Epion at bay with her beam rifle, but her eyes widened in horror when Epion ducked right under a beam at point blank before swinging its beam saber in an upward arc. The beam sword sliced right through Gaia's beam rifle before it spun around and delivered a swift kick at Gaia. Gaia quickly used the shield in its left hand to block the kick, but was still sent skidding back from the power behind the blow. Pilot has good reflexes, thought Naruto as the Gaia pushed him off before transforming into its mobile armor form. He quickly put away his beam saber and drew his heat rod as the Gaia ran on all fours around him before opening fire at him. Bastard, why won't you die? Cursed Stella angrily, as Epion jumped into the air to dodge the blasts. She was quickly forced to jump to side as Epion swung its heat rod at the spot she was just in. Gaia responded by activating the beam blades on each of its shoulders and charging at Epion at full speed. Epion landed on the ground and quickly had to jump backwards as two shots hit the spot it was in less than a second ago. Naruto's eyes narrowed as Gaia leapt at him before he had time to regain his bearings with its beam blades ready to cut him in half at the waist. That tactic might have worked against an average mobile suit, but Epion was far superior to any mobile suit when it came to maneuverability. The pilot of the Gaia learned this the hard way as Epion shot forward right under it, but not before grabbing both of its hind legs and dragging it into the air. "Ah!" screamed Stella as her Gundam was swung around at rapid speeds before it tossed at the ground with incredible force. She screamed in pain as her arm slammed up against the side of the cockpit and a loud snapping sound was heard. Epion gave her no time to catch her breath as it used its heat rod to wrap around the body of the Gaia. Naruto then used all of his mobile suit's strength to whip it into the air. Stella started to shake in fear as the heat rod retracted and Epion came at her with its beam saber drawn, ready to finish the job. If it were for the fact that she was able to twist her Gundam at the last moment, she would have been destroyed, but managed only to lose the beam blade on her right shoulder, which forced her to transform back into the mobile suit form. "No way, Stella doesn't want to die," yelled Stella as she drew her own beam saber and charged at Epion recklessly. The power and skill that Epion had shown had awakened her fear of death, and now she was fighting without thinking about her actions. How disappointing, thought Naruto as he parried her beam strike, then used Epion's superior strength to push Gaia back. "No, Stella won't die, Stella won't," yelled Stella hysterically, as she pushed Naruto off, then transformed into her mobile armor form, then ran away like a dog with its tail between its legs. Naruto frowned at the Gaia as he watched it completely head away from battle, leaving its comrades behind, but didn't bother to give chase as that wasn't his mission. He quickly located the Earth Force's base, but didn't bother to send the coordinates to the Minerva as he noticed the Impulse had disobeyed orders and had broke away from the Minerva to play the hero. Naruto shook his head at the boy because he still didn't realize that war was not something that he could waste time trying playing hero. It was a serious matter, and though saving those people were admirable, he could have always saved them after they had finished driving off the enemy. "Minerva. Ma'am, Commander Uzumaki has sent a message saying that he has detected a large carrier about a mile away that the Chaos, Abyss, Gaia, and that Gundam retreated to. He wishes to know if you want him to pursue it or not," reported Meer. "No. Have all our pilots returned to the ship. We have already lost our escort ship and the Impulse and Savior are running low on power. I rather not lose any more comrades by acting hastily," said Captain Gladys. "Yes ma'am," replied Meer before sending out the orders to all mobile suit pilots. "How was Commander Uzumaki able to find their base so quickly when we couldn't pick up anything on our radar until we reached within a half-mile of the base?" wondered Arthur. "His unit has a built-in AI system called the Zero System, according to the disc he gave me when we first met. This system is more advanced than any other piece of technology ever made and allows him to calculate infinite scenarios and other details when he activates it," explained Captain Gladys. "An AI system?" muttered Meer with a hint of confusion. She had never heard of such a thing being used before in a mobile suit and would have to ask her sister about it. Wow, I wonder why they haven't built more of those things, said Arthur surprised. That is something you will have to speak with the chairman with, as I don't know the answer to that question either, said Captain Gladys. Minerva Hangar. Naruto had just exited his Gundam and was about to take his leave when he saw Athrun and Shin glaring at each other with a small crowd surrounding them. If he was anyone else, he might have been curious to why the two were glaring at each other, but as it was he couldn't give a damn. They had just better move out of his way because he didn't feel like listening to them argue. What do you think you were doing out there? Asked Athrun angrily. Shin just remained silent but glared defiantly at Athrun. Do you think war is some game where you can play hero? Yelled Athrun. Those people needed help, argued Shin, but eyes went wide when he saw Athrun's hand about to hit his face. He closes his eyes and braced himself for the impact, but when nothing happened he opened his eyes. He saw Commander Uzumaki had stopped Athrun's hand. A traitor has no right to criticize others when they disobey orders, said Naruto with a slight narrowing of his eyes before releasing Athrun's hands. Everyone quickly saluted the commander before leaving the area quickly so they weren't reprimanded next. Naruto didn't say anything more before brushing past Athrun. Shin just glared at Athrun one last time before brushing past him as well. Athrun just watched them leave, but didn't say anything more. Luna watched the whole thing happen and waited until Commander Uzumaki and Shin left before approaching Athrun. Naruto! Hey, I didn't need your help back there, yelled Shin as he caught up with Naruto. Naruto stopped walking before glancing back at the boy with an impassive expression on his face. HN, replied Naruto before he continued walking as if he didn't even hear the boy. Damn him, thinking he is so much better than me, glared Shin as he clenched his fists in anger as he watched Naruto's back. He would show that man he didn't need his help if it was the last thing he did. The delusional boy failed to realize that Naruto could care less about him and didn't stop Athrun because he wanted to help him. It was just something he did because he didn't like to see a traitor talk to someone else about going against orders, as it was hypocritical. Naruto quietly made his way to the bridge, as he wanted to find out how far away from the Mamahol base they were. He reached the bridge to find Captain Gladys and Arthur going over some logs before looking up at him when they realized he had entered the bridge. Commander, smiled Talia. Captain, how far away from the Mamahol base are we? Asked Naruto, getting straight to the point as always. According to our map, about a day away at tops, and I will inform the whole crew when we reach there. We will be receiving a beacon from them once we enter their waters, which will give us permission to dock, replied Talia. HN, I am requesting permission to upgrade the Zaku warrior piloted by Luna Maria Hawk, said Naruto to the surprise of Arthur and Talia. What? Why? Spluttered Talia before regaining her composure. The girl specializes in using the gunner pack, and having her play a support role to Epion would increase the overall efficiency of both our units in battle. I could use the Zaku Phantom if you like as well, but I would still need to upgrade the cockpit to handle the program I wish to install, explained Naruto. The woman still didn't know that the only reason Luna Maria was assigned to the Minerva was because he told the chairman a long time ago to pair him up with a Zaku gunner should he need the support. He doubted he would run into any unit on the Earth forces that could pose a threat to him, since those Phantom Pain pilots were too messed up to pose any threat, but he did not wish to underestimate the power of ORB, especially with rumors of the Freedom kidnapping Kigali. Well, if it is okay with you, Commander, I would like to run this by both them. I think it would be best if they knew what was going on before just being hurled into it, said Talia. Naruto just nodded his head before taking his leave of the bridge. That was interesting, blinked Arthur. Break. Chairman, said Naruto as he sat in his cockpit. He had received a message from the man the moment they docked in Zaft's base in Mamahol. It had interrupted him when he was examining the Zaku warrior, but knew it must be important, at least to the chairman, or he wouldn't have contacted him when they were slowly but surely making their way to Gibraltar base. Naruto-san, it is good to hear from you again. I wish to know how everything is going aboard the Minerva, smiled Durandal. The ship is fine, replied Naruto, knowing that wasn't the real reason Durandal had contacted him. Ah, never the one for small talk, are you, Naruto-san? Very well, I guess I better get to the point of why I truly have contacted you, sighed Durandal with an amused look in his eyes. I have read over your reports on how the Phantom organization operates, and I believe if they are truly as influential as you say, then they will continue to attack you all. I was thinking of sending another unit to the Minerva, but wanted your opinion before I did so, explained Durandal. Adding another unit would increase our numbers, but might make the already pathetic team efficiency worse. There is already strife between Athrun and Shin, as it seems the boy doesn't like taking orders from others. He believes he deserves the position of giving out orders due to his recent rise in skill, said Naruto. That is troubling, as I hoped those two would learn to work together. It seems Shin might still hold a grudge against Athrun for being a part of ORB instead of staying with ZAFT, frowned Durandal. I have requested to upgrade the Zaku warrior, but Captain Gladys seems to be against the idea. I would like permission to go through with it anyway despite her misgivings otherwise, said Naruto. Of course, in fact, that might be even better than adding a new unit if you start to train Rei or that girl to be better pilots, smiled Durandal. Naruto frowned slightly at that because he didn't like what the chairman was implying, but knew he would have to train Luna or Rei somewhat depending which one of their units he upgraded. Well, now that we have that settled, I will see you all when you finally reach Gibraltar, said Durandal before closing the link. Which mobile suit should I upgrade, Epion? The Zaku Phantom piloted by the clone of Raoul Le Cresset or Luna's Zaku warrior, thought Naruto with a contemplative look in his eyes. Chapter 16. Commander, sir, you wanted to see me? Asked Luna with a hint of nervousness. She couldn't recall any time that the commander had personally requested to see anyone, and she was worried she had done something wrong. The Minerva had just managed to take out another Earth Alliance base yesterday, and the very next morning she gets a request to meet her commander in the hangar. At first she was hoping it was Athrun, but then saw Naruto there waiting for her next to her Zaku. She kind of felt bad because she had been so busy trying to get Athrun's attention lately, that she completely forgot about Naruto and her promise to get to know him better. The man had saved her life and she just blows him, but then again, he was probably happy to not have her bother him constantly. I have added a new program upgrade to your Zaku that I want you to become proficient with using, said Naruto as he pressed the up button once Luna stepped onto the lift. What? You have been messing around with my Zaku? Exclaimed Luna with a bit anger. How dare he mess with her mobile suit? That was like entering through her private things without permission in her opinion. Yes, replied Naruto, not in the least bit concerned about her tone of voice. He gestured for her to enter the cockpit, which she did, but not before glaring at him lightly. Luna sat down in her cockpit and started up her mobile suit. Everything looked the same, but then when the screen came on there was an extra program called the Zero. What the hell was the Zero system? What is this? Asked Luna curiously. The Zero system is a high-powered combat supercomputer capable of transmitting situational information, statistics, and battle data directly to the pilot's brain through direct interface. The one I have programmed into your Zaku is an upgraded yet watered-down version of the one used by Epion and Wing Zero, explained Naruto. No way, this is the AI system that Meer must have been talking about, thought Luna with wide eyes. Meer had told her, Shin, and Rei what she had heard about the commander's mobile suit in hopes of learning more about it from them, but none of them, including Rei, knew about such a system. Shin called a useless piece of equipment, but she and Rei knew that it must be incredibly powerful if it couldn't be replicated by any ZFT techs. Now she finds out that her commander put one in her unit, but the question was why? I don't understand, why would you give me this? Asked Luna with a slight frown. She was happy to be trusted with such a powerful device, but there had to be more to it. Tell me everything you know about my mobile suit, ordered Naruto impassively. Luna just blinked before she started to tell him everything she knew about Epion. The name of your Gundam is Epion and it specializes in close-range combat. It is without a doubt the fastest mobile suit ever built and probably has better maneuverability than any other mobile suit as well, started Luna. It is made out of Gundanium alloy, which is 3 times stronger than phase shift armor, which is used on all other Gundam models. This allows it to take extensive damage and still fight at full capacity, but the downside of Epion is that it possesses only 2 main weapons that can both only be used for close to mid-range combat. The first weapon it can use is a heat rod that is able to extend to incredible lengths. The heat rod can reach temperatures so high that it can severely damage and possibly even cut through phase shift armor, paused Luna to catch her breath. The second weapon that Epion uses is a beam saber that is directly linked to its core reactor, allowing it to become longer, thicker, and more powerful than any average beam saber. Epion can also employ the claws over each hand as weapons as well to tear through its enemies, but needs to be extremely close to them to do so, finished Luna. Naruto was impressed because the girl's knowledge on his mobile suit was almost completely accurate. The only problem was she left out the last weapon he was able to use with the Epion, but that was mainly because she had just learned about the Zero system. Everything you said was true, and now can you tell me why I would upgrade your Zaku with the Zero knowing what it can do and my range of abilities with Epion? Asked Naruto. Luna had a contemplative look in her eyes as she thought about everything she had just said and wherein it would explain why she was given the zero. It didn't take long before her eyes lit up in understanding and shock at what it could imply. If the zero system can truly do all the things you claim it can, then I could use it to provide better protection to the Minerva and support for you with my gunner pack. The gunner pack provides me with incredible long-range possibilities, which would ideally be a perfect support for your Gundam, gasped Luna. Naruto just nodded his head at the girl and she started to stumble over her next words. Commander, I am deeply honored, but you are practically the best pilot in ZFT. I doubt even Shin or Athrun could even touch you in their Gundams despite your disadvantage. Why would you need my help? Said Luna. I was not sent here to be the main combat specialist. My main goal is to protect the Minerva at all costs, and I cannot do that alone when we keep facing increasing large number of forces, said Naruto seriously. This was the main difference between his fighting styles with the Earth forces compared to his style with ZAFT. When he served with the Earth forces he had traveled with a large fleet and didn't have to worry about protecting his ship because there were plenty others that could be assigned specifically for that job. This meant he didn't have to use the zero system except when he faced an opponent like the Freedom and Justice because of the seeds Athrun and Kira possessed. Since joining ZFT and being assigned to the Minerva, Naruto had to keep the zero system activated during the whole battle even when facing opponents who stood no chance against him even without it on. The reason he had to do this is that Luna and Rei's mobile suit could not fight unless in space or solid ground. They were both forced to stay on the deck of the Minerva, which severely limited their movements and made them open targets for any that broke the line. Naruto had to use the zero to tell him the battle pattern so the Minerva would take minimum damage as Shin and Athrun would be fighting the stolen Gundams while he fought the rest of the damn forces. There was only one battle that he didn't have to activate it, and that was the last battle because they had a large escort of ships assisting them. He was growing tired of the damn visions that Epion kept showing him, so to lower the amount of time he spent with the zero activated, he had installed a version of it in the Zaku warrior. Naruto only hoped that Luna was prepared to do some serious training to master it to the degree that would prove beneficial in battle. I understand, and I will try my best to perform well, sir, smiled Luna, as she couldn't wait to start learning how to use this system. She had always hoped that she could receive a Gundam like the Impulse or Savior, but knew the chances of that were slim to none. Now she was getting the chance to train under the best pilot ZAFT had, and with some luck, she might be able to learn enough to fight on an equal level with any Gundam with her Zaku. It was an opportunity she wasn't going to waste and looked forward to. If she only knew the hell Naruto was going to put her through, then she might have regretted being so anxious. Captain's office. Rei, it is nice to see you. How are you? Smiled Captain Gladys. Only the chairman and maybe Naruto, because the man seemed to know everything, knew how close she and Rei were despite the fact they never showed it in public. I am well, Captain, but I wish to speak with you about a matter that has reached my attention, saluted Rei before relaxing. Oh? Asked Talia curiously. It has come to my knowledge that Commander Uzumaki has performed an upgrade on Lunamaria's Zaku warrior. I mean no offense, but I believe that my mobile suit is better suited for that particular upgrade, said Rei. He really didn't care that he wasn't picked, but knew he could learn more about the man if he added the zero upgrade to his Zaku Phantom, which is why he was hoping to get it switched to his mobile suit. I know what you are talking about, and when I was informed by the chairman a few days ago that Naruto would be given permission to do such a thing, I requested he add the upgrade to your mobile suit. I am afraid though, that I cannot order him to do anything because he still outranks me despite my new fate status, and the final decision was his to make. He seems to believe Lunamaria's Zaku will be better suited for such an upgrade, and there is nothing we can say to change his mind, said Talia with an apologetic look. I understand, Captain, saluted Rei before taking his leave with an upset look in his eyes. Minerva Hangar, 2 hours later. Your reaction time is too slow, and you are still taking too long to fire your shots, criticized Naruto as he looked down at Luna, who was breathing heavily. Luna didn't even have the strength to reply or glare at her commander as she was trying to prevent herself from passing out. She had never imagined that it would be this hard to do a mere targeting exercise. At first she was doing well. Anytime a coordinate would pop up she would instantly shift to the proper position and take out the target, but then Naruto activated the zero system and it went from easy to hell. The zero was able to pinpoint the location of every target within moments and even pointed out the one she should take out first. The only problem was that when she took too long to get into position, the zero system would point out a different target that came more of a threat because of her slow reaction time, and she was forced to try to eliminate the new threat. It was absolutely crazy, and in the end, she ended up failing several times without even coming close to succeeding. How the hell is he able to use such a system? Wait a minute, didn't he say this was a watered-down version? Thought Luna before she realized exactly what that meant. I see you finally understand the true power of what I have installed into your Zaku, said Naruto impassively. There is no way, no coordinator on Earth would be able to handle such a mental strain, and you're a natural. It just isn't possible, panted Luna in disbelief. It is true, I highly doubt anyone can master the Zero within Epion or Zero, but the one I installed into your Zaku is another story. One merely needs to possess a strong mind to master this upgrade. Be prepared because tomorrow you will face the same exercise, said Naruto before taking his leave. I can't wait until the Minerva docks, thought Luna, but then another thought entered her mind that caused her to shiver. She had hoped to get the chance to brag about the new upgrade to her mobile suit to her friends, but she was just so damn tired and didn't have the energy. Perhaps later, when she had taken a nice nap and regained her energy, then she would start bragging. Iokia's port. The Minerva had finally arrived at the ZAFT port base Iokia, though they still had a ways to go to reach Gibraltar base, their main destination. It was still a much-needed rest from all the fighting they had done lately, and the crew looked forward to their vacation, some more than others. Iokia was a beautiful city, and reminded Naruto of ORB, but much smaller in size and population. Naruto planned on enjoying the scenery, but sensed two very familiar presences and looked up into the sky. Two mobiles followed by a large carrier were landing in the base, and one of the mobile suits was painted pink while holding a very beautiful girl with long flowing pink hair. He instantly recognized her as the girl that had came to see him every day for 2 weeks before disappearing to do whatever the chairman had planned for her. Meer Campbell, which was her name if Naruto remembered correctly, who had her genes altered or some type of cosmic surgery to transform her into an identical copy of Lacus Klein, at least in the looks department. She looked to be happy, which is rare because he had only ever seen her truly happy when she came to visit him. Otherwise, she was also sad and depressed as if he had an awful life. Thought Naruto before turning around to meet with the chairman, as he had better things to do than worry about some young woman with identity issues. He passed by Athrun and noticed that Luna and Murrue were standing extremely close to him as he watched Meer sing. From the look in the boy's eyes, Naruto could tell he knew the girl's real name, but was merely acting as if she was the real Lacus Klein. This caused Naruto's eyes to narrow slightly, as the boy had once again betrayed his friends because he doubted he told the true Lacus what was really going on with her fake. No doubt, they would be quite upset with him when they learned he not only joined ZFT, but also knew about this fake Lacus all along. Athrun Zala, I did try to warn you not to join ZFT, thought Naruto with an emotionless look in his eyes before disappearing into the shadows. Chairman. We are honored to have you here, sir, bowed one of the many commanders respectfully. I am glad to see everything is well here despite all that has happened. I would like to speak with you all more later on the status of the base, but excuse me, smiled Durandal. The soldiers just saluted him and let the chairman through as he made his way over towards Naruto, who was walking towards him. Chairman, nodded Naruto as he stood in front of the man. Naruto-san, I am glad to see you made it this far in one piece, chuckled Durandal, but Naruto just remained as impassive as ever. I see your sense of humor hasn't changed much, but I guess that would be hoping for too much. Anyway, let's get down to business. Were you able to find out any information on Logos, the current division of Blue Cosmos that has been instigating this entire war? Said Durandal as they headed towards a large mansion in the distance. No, I never worked for Logos, so I never cared for what they were doing. The most I can tell you is about the phantom units they are using. I have already sent you all the data on how the phantom units operate and what they are specifically trained in, answered Naruto. I guess that will do for now, but I was hoping to learn more about the individuals who ran Logos, said Durandal with a slight frown. Chairman, saluted Talia as she approached the man with Ray at her side. Ray seemed to glare at Naruto because he was hoping to speak to the man who was like a father to him alone, but Naruto was ruining that. Talia was feeling the same way, but knew now was not the time to show such emotions. They both didn't realize that Naruto knew plenty about their relationship and could care less about it. I will be taking my leave, said Naruto before brushing past Talia and Ray without so much as a glance. Thank you again for all your help, Naruto-san, smiled Durandal, but Naruto didn't bother to turn around. On his way out, he passed by Luna, Athrun, and Shin, who had arrived courtesy of a limo. Durandal was no doubt going to tell them about Logos and Blue Cosmos' involvement in instigating the war, then use that to further manipulate them. He had no doubt the man would succeed in doing it as well because he was a master charmer. The only one who had a mind enough to not fall under his complete was Luna Maria, but that was because she didn't have any personal grief influencing her decisions like Shin and Athrun. Luna was also more level-headed than those two fools as well in Naruto's opinion, which worked in favor for him. Though girl did seem to have an infatuation with men who were in positions of powers, which is why she followed Athrun around like a puppy at times so she might fall under the chairman's manipulations. Oh well, it didn't concern him in the least so he wouldn't let it bother him. Break. Where are we going? Asked Naruto. He had been hoping to spend his time going over some logs in Epion, but Luna had begged him to come with her this morning to get some breakfast, but so far they were nowhere near getting breakfast. I was thinking we could have Athrun join us, smiled Luna. The truth was that she was still upset at what happened after the meeting she had with the chairman when Lacus had showed up and immediately latched onto Athrun. It was as he completely forgot she was there and she was not happy about that. She would never admit that she was incredibly jealous, but decided to pay him back and hoped he would get jealous when he saw her with Naruto. Luna started to sweat nervously as Naruto's piercing blue eyes bore into her own as if he knew that he was using him. She only hoped he wouldn't reprimand her or anything like that because the training with him lately had been hard enough as it is. "HN," replied Naruto as he stepped into the elevator with the girl. He knew what the girl was doing, and knew he should probably tell the girl that Athrun would care less who she was with, seeing is how he was in love with that Kigali girl, but allowed Luna to have her delusions. It was not his business, and as long as he eventually got breakfast, he would go along with it. "I think this is his room," said Luna as she knocked on the door. She waited patiently and frowned because she could swear it sounded like more than one person was in the room. The girl was about to knock again, but stopped when the door opened and a familiar girl wearing a very revealing pink nightgown stood in the doorway. "Can I help you?" asked Meer curiously. Sorry, I thought this was Athrun Zala's room, not yours, Lacus-sama," spluttered Luna apologetically. Meer's eyes narrowed as she immediately noticed the way Luna said Athrun's name and didn't like it. She was about to say something when she looked past Luna and saw a familiar person leaning against the wall and staring at her with a blank look. "Naruto-kun," said Meer with wide eyes. She didn't even realize Athrun coming up behind her or anything else as she stared into Naruto's eyes and felt like dirt as she realized what she was wearing. This was not the way she wanted to see Naruto again and wished she was invisible to avoid his piercing gaze. "HN," replied Naruto as he stared back at the girl, with a bit of a disapproving look before his eyes returned to their usual impassiveness. Chapter 17. Luna was in a foul mood and Naruto made sure to keep his distance from the girl as she vented her anger in a non-violent manner, much to his relief. If there was one thing he had learned not to mess with in his immortal life was a woman when she was venting. Women didn't tend to think rationally when they were extremely upset, but then again neither did men, but women were so much more violent in Naruto's opinion. So he kept his distance as they headed down to the local restaurant to get some breakfast. They had just left Athrun's room after Luna realized that they had gone to the right room and that Meer, or Lacus, had spent the night there. Luna had immediately jumped to the conclusion that Athrun was seeing Meer on a personal level, but Naruto knew better. He knew that Meer probably was attracted to Athrun on a physical level, but she was mostly doing her job, which is why Meer treated Luna the way she did. Meer feared that her cover would be blown, so made Luna think she and Athrun were closer than they were. It was sad really, but who was he to judge anyone on what they did with their life? "Ugh, I can't believe I ever liked that guy," grumbled Luna as she took a seat at a table and Naruto sat down across from her. A few seconds later, a waiter came by and took their orders before leaving while Luna continued to grumble. "Anyway, it seemed like Lacus-sama knew you as well. What was that about?" asked Luna as her eyes narrowed slightly. "I met her while at Armory 1, said Naruto. Luna just huffed before leaning back in her chair with her arms crossed across her chest. "I guess I shouldn't be mad, I mean they are engaged, but that doesn't mean I forgive him," sighed Luna. She had really hoped she could develop something between her and Commander Zala, but it seems she was wrong. How could she compete with the great Lacus? Luna was very confident about her looks, but compared to Lacus, who was practically a goddess, she knew her chances were slim to none. The woman was rich, famous, and everyone in the plants loved the woman, and she was just Luna. They are not engaged. It was cancelled during the First War when Lacus was officially declared a traitor and Chairman Zala renounced the engagement of his son to the girl, said Naruto, causing Luna to look at him surprised. "How would you know that?" asked Luna curiously. "I was the top assassin in the Earth Forces. It was my job to know everything about Zaft's higher-ups to better locate and eliminate them," replied Naruto impassively. Luna paled a bit at hearing that and started to fidget nervously before calming down, as she already knew her commander had once been part of the Earth forces. It was just a little unnerving to realize that the man who was the top pilot in ZAFT was also the person who is responsible for assassinating influential members of ZAFT and the plants. Stupid question, but have you ever succeeded in taking out anyone in the ZAFT council or been sent to kill Lacus-sama? Asked Luna nervously. Naruto just stared at her with his piercing gaze, but didn't say anything, but didn't have to as Luna realized the answer to her question. Never mind, that really was a stupid question, said Luna sheepishly, before smiling in delight when their meals were delivered. Naruto was about to dig into his own meal when an unfamiliar voice interrupted him and made him glance to his side. Commander Uzumaki, it is an honor to meet you, I am Heine, a fellow member of Faith, saluted the man with short orange hair. Naruto just nodded his head at the man before returning to his meal. Sir, said Luna as she stood up and saluted the man. Heine smiled at the girl before telling her to be at ease, as he didn't come to disrupt their meal. I don't know if you remember this, but I met you a few times during the First War, started Heine before Naruto interrupted him. Yes, your squadron ignored the warning I gave you all not to enter Earth territorial space and I was forced to engage you all, destroying 75 of your forces before you all withdrew, finished Naruto as he wanted to eat his meal in peace. Heine's blinked before sighing with a small smile on his face. That is correct, it was a very humbling day for many of us as over 20 Jins were taken down by one Mobius Zero, admitted Heine. He was able to take out 20 Jins with just one Mobius Zero, thought Luna with wide eyes. I know we may have fought on different sides during the First War, but I hold no grudge against you. I greatly respect your skills as a pilot and hope I get the chance to fight alongside you in the future, smiled Heine. HN, said Naruto, but didn't get to say anything more when Athrun and Meer entered the restaurant and headed their way. Commander, saluted Athrun at Naruto and Heine. Commander Uzumaki, do you think I could speak with you? Asked Lacus nervously. Everyone except Naruto looked at her in surprise because she was willing to leave Athrun to speak with the ex-Earth Forces soldier. Very well, nodded Naruto, as he knew he couldn't refuse a request from Lacus. I will see you later Athrun, said Lacus with a forced smile before quickly catching up to Naruto who had already headed for the doors. She didn't realize that she had raised Luna's ire at her even more. Naruto and Meer. Naruto-kun, yelled Meer as she quickly caught up to the man. Naruto stopped walking and turned to face the young woman. Meer fidgeted nervously under his gaze because she didn't know whether the man hated her or not for what she did to him. You wish to speak with me? Said Naruto calmly. Yes, I wanted to say I'm sorry, whispered Meer softly. When she was in Armory 1 she was all alone and had no really to talk to or anything. Then she met him that day in the park and even though he didn't have to, he spent time with her. For 2 weeks, even when he was busy, whenever she came to visit him, he would stop what he was doing and spend time with her. He had become her first and practically only true friend within the 2 weeks she spent with him, but then she had to go back to learning to be more like Lacus and she left without even saying goodbye. After all he had done for her, what kind of friend was she to just leave suddenly without any explanation? We all have our duties, I do not fault you for doing yours so there is no point in apologizing, replied Naruto. I should have expected such a response from him, he is always so cold, but still, thought Meer with a large frown. She looked up to see Naruto look over her state of dress and once again, she fidgeted nervously. When they were in Armory 1 she never dressed so exposed, but now that she was Lacus she wanted to make it so people kept coming to her concerts even if it wasn't for her songs. Though having Naruto look at her like that made her wish she had worn something more conservative as it was like he was telling her that she didn't need to be so revealing to be beautiful. He always did have a way of making her feel so much better about who she was then rather than who she wasn't and couldn't stop herself from feeling like she was disappointing him with all this change she had undergone. I know this may seem sudden, but since you are here I was hoping we could maybe spend some time together like in the past, smiled Meer hopefully. I have much to do, and I am sure you do as well, said Naruto. Meer just sighed and held back the tears that wanted to fall because she should have known this would happen. It was really her own fault for not being a good friend, but she had hoped he would have forgiven her. The Minerva will be docked in this port for a week before it takes off again. When I have some free time I will visit you if you are still here, said Naruto before turning his back and taking his leave. He never saw the beautiful smile on Meer's face as he walked away along with light blush that followed it. Naruto just walked away with a slight frown because he could not understand why he agreed to meet with the girl during his free time. Maybe it was the sad look on her face or the lonely look in her eyes that reminded him of his own loneliness when he was little, but whatever it was he blamed Epion. It seemed those damn visions were succeeding in awakening emotions that he had buried long ago. He really needed to do something about that damn mobile suit before it caused him to start caring again. Elsewhere in Iokia. "What's your name?" asked Shin as he looked over at the girl he had saved from drowning. He still couldn't believe that she had fell off the cliff because she didn't realize she was dancing too close to the edge. The girl had short blonde hair and was wearing a blue dress that really brought out her eyes. She was very beautiful, but she didn't seem to be very smart. In fact, she looked familiar to Shin, but he couldn't remember where he had seen her before. "Stella is Stella," replied the blonde-haired girl. Shin just shook his head at the girl because it seemed she really was mentally unstable, and worse yet they were both stuck down her until someone came to pick them up. He could just imagine the look on Athrun's face when he had to tell him why he used his emergency alert signal. "I'm Shin," said Shin. What he didn't realize is that the girl would awaken feelings in him that he never thought he had. "Minerva. Damn it, why can't I get this?" cursed Luna as she panted heavily. She had been trying to master the zero for the past 3 hours, and every time she had failed without even coming close to succeeding. It just didn't make sense because she knew she was doing everything right, but for some reason her reaction time was too slow. "Is it my mobile suit or is it me?" thought Luna angrily. "The problem is you," said a familiar voice. Luna looked up surprised to see Naruto looking at her while his arms were crossed across his chest. "Commander," said Luna before looking to the side. She wanted to tell him she was trying her best, but knew that was no excuse for her failure. The Minerva was about to take off in a day or two, and there was no excuse for lack of improvement with the zero system. "Stop using your eyes and trust the zero to guide you," said Naruto as he snapped her out of her thoughts. "I don't understand," replied Luna confused. "Every time you are given a target you always take the time to look at what you are shooting. The zero system would not have you target an ally, but you still waste precious time making sure it is an enemy. This is why you are failing," pointed out Naruto. Luna frowned at that because now that she thought about it, she realized he was speaking the truth. It wasn't her reaction time that was off or her positioning, but she did spend time checking to get a good look at what she was targeting. This gave her target time to move and break out of her lock-on. She doubted if she could break such a habit because unlike her commander, she didn't like the idea of putting her full faith into a machine because it could possibly deem an ally a threat depending on the situation. "I am sorry, sir, but I do not know if I can put my complete faith in the zero like you want. I will continue to try to master it in a way that I am comfortable with. That is all I can promise," apologized Luna. "Your eyes can be fooled and you will have to learn to rely on pure instincts alone at times when that happens. I will allow you to continue to use the zero, but I will not give you permission to use it in battle until you have mastered it to my satisfaction," said Naruto before taking his leave of the girl. "I will master it, I promise you I will," thought Luna with a fierce determination burning in her eyes. Naruto and Meer. "I heard the Minerva will be departing tomorrow," said Meer with a sad look in her eyes as she walked next to Naruto. This past week had reminded of her days at Armory 1, and she could honestly say she was happier spending time with Naruto than pretending to be Lacus. How ironic, she finally receives her dreams of being loved by everyone and singing in live concerts, yet she would throw it all away just to spend time with the coldest man she had ever known. Perhaps, that was because everyone loved her for being someone she wasn't, and with Naruto she didn't have to be anything other than herself. Naruto wasn't caring, he didn't talk much, and he always had an emotionless look in his eyes that showed no love for anything that went on around him, but he made her happy. He listened, spent time with her, and didn't ignore her like so many others did. This made Meer feel drawn to him because despite his cold exterior he was kind to her. She didn't know why that was, but maybe it was because he seemed to understand her pain of loneliness, and that is why he was so kind to her and came to see her whenever he had free time like he said he would. Meer wished she could show him how much she appreciated him being her friend and forgiving her for what she did to him in Armory 1, but just didn't know how to bring up the subject. "Yes," replied Naruto as he stared up into the beautiful blue sky. "I guess this will be the last time we will get to talk for a while," frowned Meer as Naruto glanced at her from the corner of his eyes. "I just wanted to say thank you for forgiving me and coming to see me every day. I have enjoyed our time together and I wish you didn't have to go," said Meer as she shifted nervously. Naruto didn't say anything at first, but when he saw that sad look in her eyes he finally decided to speak. "I find your presence soothing and enjoy speaking with you," admitted Naruto, causing Meer to blink before a large, beautiful smile broke out on her face. Be safe, Naruto-kun, I don't want this to be the last time we meet, whispered Meer as she stopped walking, causing Naruto to stop as well before turning to face the young woman. He just nodded his head, but didn't say anything and was completely caught off guard when Meer hugged him, much to his surprise. I knew you couldn't be as emotionless as you act, Naruto-kun, smiled Meer as she saw his eyes widened a bit before she released him. Bye, Naruto-kun, stay safe, blushed Meer before walking off. Naruto watched her disappear into the distance before heading to the Minerva. He had forgotten what it felt like to be in contact with another person like that, and it had awakened something in him. In fact, he reached into his uniform and pulled a familiar feather, except this time instead of just one, there were two. What does this mean? Thought Naruto as he stared at the two feathers with a confused look in his eyes. Minerva. Captain, all the crew and pilots are aboard the ship, reported Arthur. Good, let everyone know that we are taking off, as it is time to continue on our way, ordered Captain Gladys. Yes, ma'am, saluted Arthur before relaying the orders to the crew. We will need to be extra careful as there are several reports of increased activity by Logos and the Earth forces in the direction we are headed, said Captain Gladys with a hard look in her eyes. The Earth forces won't be the only thing we have to worry about, said Naruto as he leaned against the wall. What do you mean, sir? Asked Arthur curiously. Captain Gladys wanted to know what he meant as well, but Naruto didn't seem to hear the man as he continued to look out over the ocean before taking his leave of the bridge. I know he is one of the best, but I really do hate when he does that, mumbled Captain Gladys with a shake of her head. Black Sea. Captain, saluted the lieutenant as Neo entered the bridge. Lieutenant, tell me, have the ORB forces we requested to back us up shown up? Asked Neo curiously. Yes, sir, they have sent word that they are currently on way with 3 carriers to help us, but sir, why have we asked them to come all the way out here when we have significant forces here already? Asked the lieutenant. Why waste our forces when we can use someone else to do the dirty work for us? That country did sign the treaty to be our allies, so instead of having them sit there and doing nothing, we have them show us that they are truly worth the trouble, replied Neo with a smirk. Of course, sir, said the lieutenant. Let me know when the ORB forces arrive and keep an eye out for that ship, the Minerva. I want to know immediately when they appear on our radar, ordered Neo as he wanted his revenge against the Minerva for escaping him twice already. Yes, sir, saluted the lieutenant as Neo left the bridge. Break. The Minerva had finally reached the Black Sea and was heading right for the trap set up for them by Phantom Pain. The ORB forces were also waiting for them as well, and the Minerva would be hard-pressed to come out of this next battle intact. Captain, we are detecting multiple ships about 2 miles away from our current position, said Arthur. What? Who are they? Demanded Captain Gladys. Ma'am, they appear to be ORB ships along with several Earth Alliance forces ships. The ORB forces have just started to launch their mobile suits, but no movement from any of the Earth forces ships, reported Marin. Lower the bridge and issue a condition read. I want the Savior, Impulse, and Epion to launch immediately. Have Ray and Luna on standby until the Earth forces make a move, ordered Captain Gladys as she cursed her luck. Yes, ma'am, replied Arthur before hastily issuing the orders. Minerva Hangar. I can't believe they are actually attacking us. I swear I will destroy them all, glared Shin. He had just learned a few moments ago that not only had ORB appeared on their radar, but had launched their mobile suits against them. Shin wasn't the only surprised by this turn of events because Athrun had similar thoughts going through his mind as well, except he didn't want to harm anyone from ORB. ORB wasn't his enemy and he didn't know if he could fight against them at all. Kigali, how could you allow this to happen, thought Athrun with a frown, as he prepared to launch. Epion launching, said Naruto before he took off and was the first one to leave the ship. Don't disappoint me, because I will be waiting for you, thought Naruto as he landed on the deck of the Minerva and stood there calmly. He didn't even bother to help the Savior or Impulse as they fought off the attacking ORB forces. Minerva's bridge. What is Commander Uzumaki doing out there? Cursed Captain Gladys. I don't know, ma'am, he isn't answering his communications, but the Savior and Impulse seem to be holding off the ORB forces just fine, reported Marin. Incoming missiles, yelled Arthur. Evasive maneuvers and fire the wombats along with the anti-depth charges, ordered Captain Gladys hastily. Battle. The Minerva was successfully holding off the attacking ORB forces with little difficulty. Naruto continued to stand calmly on the deck of the Minerva and his eyes were closed as he sat in the cockpit of Epion. The sounds of battles that went off all around him didn't bother him at all and he continued to ignore the attempts of the Minerva to contact him through his comm link. Athrun wasn't as calm as Naruto because he was having trouble fighting the ORB forces as he refused to go for any killing blows. He kept shooting at spots that would disable and prevent them from fighting any further, but he just didn't have the aim that Kira did when it came to doing such a thing. It was really pushing him to his limits because he still couldn't understand why the ORB forces were attacking them. Shin on the other hand didn't seem to have any problem with destroying as many ORB mobile suits as possible. He seemed to even take some delight in destroying them, but that was not too surprising because he did blame them for the death of his family, especially his little sister who he loved dearly. It wasn't long before the Minerva had managed to get the upper hand and Captain Gladys ordered for them to fire their bow gun upon the ORB ships. Shin and Athrun quickly cleared out of the way, but the latter had wanted to yell at them not to fire but remained silent. Just as the Minerva was about to fire, a beam blast from above pierced right through the bow gun causing it to explode and dealing heavy damage to the Minerva. Everyone fighting stopped what they were doing and looked around in shock for the new enemy. "So you came after all," said Naruto as he looked up into the sky to see the freedom arrive. Epion's eyes glowed in anticipation, as it would finally have an opponent that would pose as a worthy challenge to its power. A shiver went down everyone's spine as they couldn't stop the feeling that something terrible was about to be unleashed by freedom's arrival. Chapter 18. Kira, spluttered Athrun, as he stared at the freedom while the Archangel came up from behind it. Why was he here and why did he attack the Minerva? These are just some of the many thoughts that crossed Athrun's mind while he stared at the freedom. Everyone on the battle had stopped what they were doing and no one made a move even as the Archangel launched a mobile suit. The ORB forces easily recognized the Strike Rouge as it carried the crest of the Atha family and a familiar voice appeared on every channel. Naruto quickly ran over some information not bothering to attack yet as he checked over a few things. "Attention, I am the representative of the ORB forces Kigali Atha," announced Kigali from within the Strike Rouge. All the ORB forces were stunned because they had not seen or heard from Kigali since she was kidnapped by the Freedom. Yuna on the other hand, was angry as he listened to the girl request that all ORB forces stand down because this went against their ideals. He knew that if this continued then his own military would turn against them and then the Earth forces would sink the ship with him in it and he was not ready to die. "I am ordering all ORB forces to stand down and pull back." "What are you doing goes against the ideals of ORB," demanded Kigali. She was about to say more, but screamed in pain when a flash of metal knocked her backwards. Kira turned his head quickly and flew right in front of Kigali right as Epion appeared in front of him. "Attention Archangel, if you do not leave this battle immediately, I will declare you a threat to the Minerva, and move to eliminate you," announced Naruto with absolutely no compassion for the real reason why they came here. "ORB forces? Sir, is that really Kigali-sama?" asked the lieutenant of the ORB ship. "No, it must be some imposter. The real Kigali-chan would never order ORB to do such a thing when we are allies with the Earth forces. Order all of our forces to target the Archangel and destroy it if they should continue to fight against us," said Yuna hysterically. He had to act quickly or the Earth forces would think they are breaking out of their alliance by not fighting any further. The two ORB officers looked at Yuna grimly as they could tell the man was scared of the Earth forces turning on them, but he was the ruling representative ORB now so they had to listen to him. They soon gave the order to all the ORB forces that the Kigali and the Strike Rouge was an imposter and to continue their assault on the Minerva and should the Archangel interfere attack them as well. Unfortunately, the ORB forces were still listening to the broadcast of Kigali as the Freedom protected her and the Archangel from Epion should it attack them. "Earth forces. Sir, Representative Yuna has ordered his forces to continue their assault on the Minerva and is requesting that we assist them should the Archangel interfere," said the lieutenant. "This situation is to our advantage now that the Minerva is damaged." "Have all our forces attack the Minerva," ordered Neo with a large smirk. "Hi," replied the lieutenant before giving the orders. "Minerva. Captain Gladys, launch all our mobile suits immediately, and don't bother with the Archangel. Should the Freedom, Strike, or the Archangel make any aggressive move against our forces I will engage them," ordered Naruto leaving no room for argument. "Hi, Meer and have Luna and Ray launch immediately and protect the Minerva from the deck," ordered Captain Gladys. "Incoming abyss and chaos with a large number of Gundam," yelled Arthur. "Evasive maneuvers have Athrun and Shin focus all their attention on protecting the Minerva. Tell them they are not to engage the Archangel or Freedom at any costs. Commander Uzumaki said he would deal with them if they engaged us and I have no doubt he will," ordered Captain Gladys as she gritted her teeth in anger. "Battle. Seems we will have to battle some other time Freedom. The Minerva comes first," thought Naruto, as he took off at full thrust towards the ORB forces. The ORB forces stood no chance due to their current confusion. Naruto attacked them before they could regroup and regain their bearings, as they were confused from the earlier message from Kigali. Anyone else might have left them be, but Naruto was raised a ninja, and a ninja took advantage of every opportunity, especially during a war. ORB had attacked them first, so he was merely making sure they couldn't continue their attack. "Kira, we have to stop him," yelled Kigali, as she knew exactly who was in that Gundam decimating the ORB forces. Damn that man, he was once again killing off her people as if they were nothing but mere objects in his path. "I will try my best," nodded Kira as he charged towards Epion. Thought Naruto, before destroying 2 more ORB units, then spinning around to parry the Freedom's beam strike with his own beam saber. Kira's eyes widened in surprise because he couldn't believe how fast the pilot had reacted to his presence. "You're faster than before, but what about the rest of your skills?" said Naruto as he pushed the Freedom back, then flew up to dodge the rail beam cannons shot at him by the Freedom. "This Gundam, its fighting style is familiar," mumbled Kira as he struggled to keep up with Epion's incredible speed. The 2 powerful Gundams crossed blades again, but it was easy to see that the Freedom was struggling to keep up with Epion. Naruto glanced at one of his rear monitors and realized that the Minerva was in trouble. The Abyss and Chaos were taking up Athrun and Shin's attention. That left the Gaia and the Windams the perfect opportunity to attack the Minerva head-on, which they were capitalizing on. Ray and Luna were stuck on the deck, so their options were limited, so Naruto had to stop playing around with the Freedom. "Next time, Freedom," said Naruto before delivering a swift spin kick to the Freedom's chest, then taking off towards the Gaia and remaining Windam. "He's leaving." "No, he's going to help the Minerva," said Kira. Kira knew that if he wanted to stop the ORB forces from being destroyed, he was going to have to take out all the major players on each side and force them to retreat. With that thought in mind, Kira headed off in the direction of the Minerva as well and started to lock on to as many units as he could. "Die!" yelled Stella as she charged at the Minerva on all fours with her beam blades on either side of her shoulder activated. She might have succeeded too, as Ray and Luna were busy with the attacking Windams, but an unexpected attack from above destroyed the beam blades on her back before sending her tumbling across the ground. "You bastard, this time Stella will kill you," growled Stella as she glared at Epion, before transforming into her mobile suit form. "Still letting your anger cloud your movements," thought Naruto unimpressed, as he watched the Gaia charge at him with its beam saber drawn. Right as Stella was about to cut him in half, Epion raises its hand, and grabbed Gaia's arm, stopping it from completing its motions. Stella's eyes widened in horror as Epion's eyes seemed to be staring right at her through her monitor. Epion drew back his fist and made to slam its claws right into the head of the Gaia to disable it permanently, but quickly used the Gaia as a shield as several beams came at him. The Gaia took the beam hits instead before Naruto tossed the Gundam aside to parry the beam sword from a new Windam that had showed up. "Looks like we meet again, Red Gundam," grinned Neo as they broke apart and he took aim at Epion. "This pilot seems familiar," thought Naruto as he dodged the shots and drew his heat rod. Neo grinned as flew up into the air and started to rain down shots upon Epion. Epion quickly shot up into the air and used its head rod to grab the gun out of the Windam's hand, then toss it into the ocean. He didn't worry about the Gaia because the Gundam couldn't leave the coast or it would drown in the ocean. "You're good," admitted Neo as he struggled to keep up with Epion. If it wasn't for his spatial awareness skills, he was sure that damn heat rod that seemed to be able to stretch to unlimited lengths would have destroyed his mobile suit by now. "Mulaflaga," thought Naruto through narrowed eyes. He recognized the way the man fought and dodged because he had fought besides the man once, and his skills in a Mobius Zero had impressed him greatly. The only thing that confused him was that last time he checked, Mulaflaga was not part of the Phantom Forces. In fact, the man had been part of the Archangel crew during the last war, so what was he doing here? The two were about to re-engage combat, but Naruto and Neo were forced to move out of the way as the Freedom attempted to disable them both with its beam sabers. The Freedom went right by them and straight down to the Gaia, where it sliced off the Gundam's arms in one single swipe. Naruto looked around to see not only had the Gaia been disabled, but the Chaos, Abyss, Impulse, and most of the Earth forces. It seemed the Freedom wasted no time in taking out everyone without killing anyone so as to prevent further battle. You have grown much," thought Naruto as he retracted his heat rod because this battle was over. Neo ordered a retreat and the Freedom headed back to the Archangel. Naruto didn't bother to go after it because if he did, then the Minerva would truly be left unprotected, as the Savior was the only working mobile suit besides his and it was extremely low on power. He could feel that Epion was angry at not going after the Freedom, but was calmed down when Naruto promised that it would get another shot at Kira and the Freedom in the near future. Port Talkis. The Minerva had managed to make it to the Sea of Marmara and currently docked at one of their bases within that area. It had suffered a great deal of damage and wouldn't be leaving anytime soon. The Minerva wasn't the only thing that needed repairs, but all their mobile suits as well, except for the Savior and Epion. Naruto didn't bother with all the details and let Captain Gladys deal with the ship's repairs while he stared up at Epion. He was trying to pacify his Gundam because Epion had been wanting to battle a worthy opponent for some time now. This was not to say the pilots of the Gaia, Chaos, and Abyss were weak, but they just didn't possess the experience or skill to keep up with someone like Naruto or Epion. Further thoughts were interrupted when an angry Athrun had finally decided to approach Naruto. "You knew, didn't you?" said Athrun as he glared at Naruto. Naruto turned to face the young man, or boy if compared to Naruto's age, and looked at him with a bored expression on his face, probably one of the few times he showed emotion. "No, but I suspected the Freedom would show up," replied Naruto. "How could you just suddenly suspect the Freedom and Archangel would show up? What signs were there to predict such a thing?" demanded Athrun. My objective is to protect the Minerva. I planned for everything with the help of Epion," said Naruto as his eyes narrowed. "You slaughtered a bunch of ORB units when they weren't even fighting," yelled Athrun. "ORB has declared itself an enemy to ZFT and attacked the Minerva first. By taking out 75 of their units I succeeded in preventing them from re-engaging the Minerva and our forces," stated Naruto without a hint of regret. Athrun glared at the ground because no matter how cold Naruto seemed, he was right. ORB had attacked them first and did re-engage them even with Kigali begging them to stop. The damage to the Minerva would have been far greater if Naruto hadn't struck first while they were still confused, but Athrun just didn't want to accept it at the time. "You belong to ZFT now and it is your duty to help protect the Minerva as well. The Freedom attacked us as did ORB and not the other way around," said Naruto before brushing past the boy. "ORB, Freedom, and the Archangel did attack us first and the commander was protecting the Minerva," thought Athrun as he finally admitted to himself that his commander truly did do nothing wrong. ZFT may have deployed its forces, but only in self-defense while the Earth Alliance and ORB had started to attack for no reason even when evidence had been shown that they helped try to stop Junior 7. He needed to speak with Kira and Kigali and tell them to stop interfering as they only caused more deaths because Naruto did not stop fighting just because everyone else did. Naruto would only stop fighting once given the order or when all threats against the Minerva had been neutralized. Captain's office. "Captain, you wish to speak with me?" asked Luna as she saluted her captain. Luna had just got done calming down Shin and wasn't really in the best of moods, but knew better than to ignore a direct order from her captain. It was a rare occurrence when Captain Gladys wished to speak with her personally without Ray or Shin, so knew whatever this was about it was important. "Hi, as you know Commander Zala has recently left the ship, but you don't know is why. The reason he left is to seek a conference with the crew of the Archangel," said Talia with a hard look in her eyes. "Athrun left to meet with the people who attacked us," thought Luna in shock. Though Athrun is a member of Faith and allowed to do as he pleases so long as he doesn't betray ZFT, I still do not completely trust him. As he told me earlier, he was once allies with the Archangel and its crew, so chances are he shares a type of bond with them. I can't risk having Athrun tell these people the full extent of the Minerva's abilities, which is why you are here," sighed Talia as she leaned back in her chair. "What is it you wish from me, ma'am?" asked Luna, not knowing how she could help. "I want you to follow him and record any information on his actions that you can. Do not let him find out you are following him, and should he attempt to betray us then kill him," ordered Talia. Luna's eyes widened, as she couldn't believe the mission she was just given. "Athrun. Thank you for meeting with me," said Athrun, before taking a seat across from a familiar-looking brown-haired girl. "I am surprised you knew I was in the area, but I wasn't exactly hiding my presence," smiled Mirialia. "Can you get me in touch with Kira and the Archangel?" asked Athrun, getting straight to the point. Well, I did used to work on the bridge, so I might know of way to contact them, but first you have to tell me why you want to meet with them." "I know you are a part of ZFT as I saw the battle the other day," said Mirialia. "I see, but you don't need to worry. I merely wish to speak with them and that is all. I need to convince them to stop interfering because they are only bringing chaos to the battlefield and needless death," said Athrun with a hard look in his eyes. Mirialia could tell by Athrun's eyes that he really did wish to speak with them and nothing else, so nodded her head. "Alright, I'll get you in touch with them, but it will take a day at least, so I will contact you tomorrow morning if they reply with a positive answer of wanting to meet with you, said Minerva before getting up and taking her leave. Archangel. This is strange, we are receiving a message from somebody, frowned Murrue. Lacus, Kira, Andrew, and Kigali all looked at her curiously because no one knew they were here except for the crew. Who is it from? Asked Kira curiously. Well, what do you know? It is from an old friend of yours. I believe her name was Minerva, answered Andrew. Minerva? Repeated Kira surprised, as he hadn't heard from her in ages. Yes, it seems she is currently staying in the nearby town and has had a run-in with Athrun. Apparently, Athrun wishes to meet you all, but she says he has rejoined ZFT, said Murrue as she read the message. Athrun is with ZFT? Gasped Kigali in disbelief. It seems that is why we have not heard from him so far, said Lacus softly. I think we should meet with him. If he truly is with ZAFT, then he will be able to tell us what is going on with the plants and the situation with the fake Lacus, along with information on Chairman Durandal, said Kira. I'll be going with you. I want to see Athrun again as well to ask him a few questions, said Kigali with a hard look in her eyes. Luna. Luna had woke up early this morning and followed Athrun to a remote location. She was now currently staying on a cliff while Athrun met with some people she didn't recognize except for Kigali. The small satellite device she had set up to better hear the conversation was all ready, but just as she was about to turn it on, a hand stopped hers from hitting the button. This conversation is not yours to hear, said Naruto before crushing the machine under his foot and not even bothered by the sparks. Commander, gasped Luna with wide eyes. How did he find her and better yet destroy that piece of equipment without any sign of injury? Captain Gladys has overstepped her boundaries and I will talk to her once I complete my mission, said Naruto calmly. How did you find me? Asked Luna. I have told you before, my main job is assassination, replied Naruto as he kept his eyes on those down below. He could hear their conversation as if they were standing right next to him, and once he was sure Athrun wasn't going to betray ZAFT, he prepared to head off. You don't mean you are here to kill Athrun, spluttered Luna as she took a step back. No, for the moment Athrun seems to be loyal to ZAFT. I have come here for someone else, said Naruto before brushing past Luna without a second glance. Lacus. Lacus had just finished taking a shower and decided to go outside the Archangel to wait for Kira and the others to return. She knew they were out speaking Athrun and was interested to hear what they learned from him. As she left the Archangel, she sensed something was wrong, and that the ship seemed to be a little too quiet. She go to the surface and was surprised when saw a familiar man seemingly waiting for her. Lacus knew the man was now with ZAFT and had even attacked Kigali and Kira in the last battle, but wondered why he was here and how he knew she would be here. Could it be he knew the Archangel was hiding here? Naruto-san, said Lacus as she stood a few feet in front of him. Naruto had his hands in his pocket and the wind blew through his spiky hair that seemed to defy gravity. Ichen, you know why I am here, said Naruto. Lacus smiled sadly and nodded her head in response. Hi, and I thank you for sparing those within the Archangel, smiled Lacus. They were not my target, but I could not have them interfering, stated Naruto impassively. Either way, I am grateful, smiled Lacus with a grateful look in her eyes. Naruto stared into Lacus' eyes and she stared right back, the smile never leaving her face. I don't normally do this, but any last requests before I kill you? Asked Naruto calmly. Chapter 19. I don't normally do this, but any last requests before I kill you? Asked Naruto impassively. Yes, I was wondering if you could tell me why you fight, asked Lacus curiously. Naruto seemed to frown a bit at this question, but covered it up so quickly that Lacus was unable to catch it. I fight, merely to fight, stated Naruto, but Lacus knew he was lying because something about the man let her know that he wouldn't just fight to fight. If that is the case, then why do you wish to kill me? I am not much of a fighter, said Lacus. I was ordered to eliminate Lacus Klein if presented the opportunity. It is not that I want to, but am merely following orders, replied Naruto. Why was he indulging this girl? This thought was starting to plague his mind as he continued to answer and speak with the young woman. I see, but I don't understand why someone would want me dead. I am only trying to help bring peace, that is all I have ever wanted, sighed Lacus. Peace is an illusion that those who can't accept the truth of the way things are, cling to in order to make themselves feel better, said Naruto harshly. What would make you believe something like that? Asked Lacus as she took a step closer to Naruto. Naruto looked up into the sky before surprising Lacus and himself with his next comment. I used to believe I could change the world and end all wars, said Naruto with a small twitch of his lips. Lacus remained silent because she didn't want to interrupt him when it looked like he was going to say more. Long ago, when I was a small child, I wished to be the leader of my village and protect everything precious to me. It was my dream to be the greatest leader that my village had ever seen, whispered Naruto with a glazed look in his eyes, but Lacus heard him loud and clear. Over time, my dream started to change, and I didn't just want to protect my village, but everyone. I grew up with so much hate and bloodshed that I wanted to end it permanently with my own two hands. I wanted a world where there would be no more fighting and no more innocent people dying from foolish conflicts, sighed Naruto. Eventually, after overcoming many obstacles, I became the leader of my village and brought peace. I created treaties with other villages, helped out those in need whenever I could, and peace reigned for about a decade. Then, like always, conflicts started to arise, and no matter how many peaceful solutions I came up with to end them, people were always quick to resort to bloodshed to resolve their problems. It wasn't until almost all those close to me died pointlessly that I realized that the only way peace would continue to reign once more is if I stopped being nice, Naruto said as his eyes grew so cold that Lacus couldn't stop the shiver from running down her spine. I brought peace back to my lands by quickly getting rid of all those who started conflict needlessly. I became a judge and executioner, which seemed to work, but after so many years, I grew tired of it. People would just find new ways to cause destruction and death, which is when I decided to not care anymore. Now I merely pick a side to fight on and fight for it, which has led me to accept one truth. What is that? Asked Lacus, but was scared to hear his answer. The only way to achieve true peace is death. I guess you could say the reason why I fight is to one day achieve true peace, because it is only in death where one can finally be freed of conflict forever, stated Naruto. If you truly believe death is the only way to achieve peace, then why did you save millions of people during the Junius 7 incident? Asked Lacus. Naruto just reverted his eyes away from the beautiful woman and looked at the waves as they crashed against the shore. This caused Lacus to smile because even though he tried to hide it, there was still some of his old self in him despite his cold exterior. Why have I told this girl about my life? Why is it I have become so unsure of myself lately even when I fight? Thought Naruto with a bit of anger. If the clenching of his hands was any sign, I was ordered to help stop Junius 7 from falling. That is why I saved those people, otherwise, I could have cared less, lied Naruto, but one couldn't tell as his face became impassive as usual. Is that so? Replied Lacus with a raised eyebrow. Was all Naruto said. I am grateful that you told me about yourself, and I can tell by the look in your eyes that despite how hard you try to hide your emotions, they are still there buried deep within you, smiled Lacus. I know you left out a great deal in your story, but I am still grateful. Thank you for obliging me in my last requests to get to know you a bit better. Naruto stared at the young woman and slowly removed his right hand from his pocket to reveal a small, but deadly-looking kunai. Lacus just continued to smile at Naruto, and the ageless man stood there with a kunai resting in his right hand. He then raised his hand and flung the kunai straight at Lacus. The beautiful songstress merely closed her eyes, waited for death to come, but instead felt a small breeze, and opened her eyes slowly. She looked down to see the kunai Naruto had thrown hovering over heart and Naruto on her right with his hand gripping the handle. Lacus didn't even bother to question how he could move so fast or anything like that. What she asked him did surprise him though. For someone who values loyalty and clings to it as the last line left in their life, why do you disobey the order to kill me? Asked Lacus curiously. Perhaps, I want to show you that your peace is merely illusion by allowing you to live to watch the world you love so much crumble around you, stated Naruto as he put the kunai back in his pocket. It is a world you love too, smiled Lacus. Let us see what is stronger, your belief or mine when it comes to peace, said Naruto before walking away. Lacus watched him go even as Kira and the others showed up wondering why she was out by herself. I will show you that your peace is merely an illusion, thought Naruto with a cold look in his eyes before he disappeared in a swirl of leaves. He still didn't know why he had told the girls so much, but maybe it was because a part of him wanted to believe what she believed in, so he told her his story in hopes that she could find a flaw in him adopting such a cold outlook on the world. Is that why he made that deal with her? Was he somehow hoping that she would find some way to show him how wrong he was by beating him when he became merely an emotionless machine? These were the last thoughts that ran through his mind before he banished them from his mind. Research facility. What is this place? Asked Shin. He and Ray were told to check out a military facility on a nearby island, but when they got there all they found an empty base with a bunch of folders and crap like that. It wasn't until they went deeper in did they find a bunch of left-behind drugs, dead scientists, and large human-sized tubes everywhere. Ray had gone into shock and Shin was forced to alert Minerva right away to help his friend. I don't know, but it can't be anything good. From what we got so far it looks to be some type of experimental research place, frowned Captain Gladys. This is where they trained and created their perfect soldiers to battle coordinators, said Naruto as he showed up out of nowhere. What? Gasped Arthur, voicing the question on everyone else's mind. They would bring kids here, mostly orphans, and train them. Those who passed the training were given drugs to enhance their abilities while the ones who failed were killed, explained Naruto. That's horrible, and they call us coordinators monsters because of our genes, growled Shin angrily. They believe what they are doing is okay just so long as they don't mess with the genes of the people, but in truth, what they do is actually worse because these drugs probably have horrible side effects, frowned Captain Gladys. Ma'am, we have detected a mobile suit heading straight towards here and it looks to be the Gaia. The savior is on the way to us, but we should have the impulse launched just in case, panted Meer. Shin didn't need to be told and quickly headed straight to his Gundam. If it is just the one unit, have Athrun and Shin capture it. Arthur, get a group of our crew and gather all the folders inside this place, then take them aboard the Minerva. I want to get out of here as soon as possible before anyone else shows up, ordered Captain Gladys. Naruto started to set up the explosive within the compound as he and the captain knew they couldn't allow the Earth forces to use this facility in the future as some type of base or something else. Earth forces. Captain, what are we going to do about the Gaia? Asked the lieutenant. There is nothing we can do, by now she has either been captured or if luck is with us, destroyed, sighed Neo, as he hadn't expected Stella to run off like that. He would have to severely punish Sting for telling Owl and Stella about ZFT checking out that facility. The only good thing was that they had cleared away any information that would allow them to truly understand and realize what truly went on there. Neo only hoped that Stella went into shock quickly after she was captured so they couldn't torture any information out of her. Damn that girl for complicating matters and making his job so much harder than it had to be. He didn't get to think any further when a beep sound went off on his laptop and recognized it as a message from his superior. It seemed Lord Gibril had some new orders for them. Minerva. Stella, whispered Shin, as he stared at the girl being treated by the doctors. He had never expected that the pilot of the Gaia was the girl he had saved back in Iokia. It had shocked him greatly, but he took comfort in the fact that she didn't fight willingly for the Earth forces. The girl was what they called an extended according to Commander Uzumaki, and they were manipulated since birth to fight against coordinators. Just thinking about what they did to her made Shin angry, and he wanted nothing more to destroy them all. He knew he would get his chance eventually, but right now he just needed to stay calm and wait until the repair to the Minerva were complete. Stella would receive the best treatment possible from the doctors, and with that thought in mind Shin left to do some training. How is the girl? Asked Naruto. One of the doctors stopped working on her and turned to face Naruto with a small sigh. That little action told Naruto all he needed to know. Not good. When it comes to using drugs to enhance physical and mental capacity, the naturals know more than we do. The most we can do is sedate her, but chances are she won't survive more than a week even with the best of treatment we can provide, sighed the doctor. Naruto had expected as much, as this wasn't the first time he had seen an innocent person manipulated to such lengths by the hands of others. He still remembered how Danzo recruited orphans from the age of 1 and turned them into his emotionless soldiers. It had to be one of the hardest things Naruto had to do when he had ordered the execution order of all route personnel. All those men, women, and children were brainwashed so much that not even he could save them. For the protection of his people he had to eliminate them, as they had been trained to attack the village should Danzo ever fall, and Naruto just couldn't continue to let that man live. Death was the only thing he could offer those people because they were so loyal to Danzo that once he was gone they would start to mentally break down from his absence. He knew that Shin seemed to care for the girl, but if the boy didn't realize that the girl couldn't be saved, then he would probably end up doing something foolish in the future. The only way this girl would ever truly escape her pain or those who manipulated her was through death, because ZFT would merely use her as a guinea pig to better understand what type of drugs they used on her. Either way, the girl would become a mere object no matter what side she was on. I wonder if you saw this, would you still believe that there is a peaceful way to save the girl, or would accept my form of peace and grant the girl a quick death? Thought Naruto before leaving the room. Minerva Hangar. Damn it, I almost had it that time, panted Luna, as she slammed her hands down on her console. Ever since she had got back from spying on Athrun, which was interrupted by her commander, she had been training twice as hard to master the Zero. She could feel that her reflexes and awareness had increased greatly from all her training, but she still had a ways to go before mastering the system. There was something more about the system than Naruto had let on, but what it was she didn't know. It was frustrating because she knew that she could master the system, but some outside force seemed to be getting in her way each time. Your progress with the Zero is getting much better, said Naruto, as Luna exited her cockpit and landed on the ground. Luna quickly saluted Naruto before asking him a question about the system. Thank you, sir, and I feel that I will soon have it master, smiled Luna. I am giving you permission to activate it in the next battle should you find the need to, said Naruto. Luna's eyes widened in surprise because she hadn't expected that. Yes, sir, and thank you for trusting me, smiled Luna, as she took this as a sign that her skills as a pilot were increasing. HN, replied Naruto before brushing past the girl to go check on Epion. Luna watched him go before heading to her room because she needed to take a shower. She was all sweaty from all that simulation training, and like most women, Luna hated smelling like sweat. Naruto glanced at Luna as she left, and if one looked closely, they would have seen a guilty look in his eyes before they became emotionless. Epion's eyes flashed for a second before they became lifeless as well. ORB and Earth forces. Colonel Tadaka, we will engage the Minerva, while your forces come up from this side of the ship, said Neo, as he explained the battle strategy. I understand, you wish to trap them in a pincer movement, realized Colonel Tadaka, the one put in charge of leading the ORB forces as Yuna went back to ORB. That is correct, and don't worry about that unit coming at you all again. I will have the Chaos and Abyss keeps its attention so you can focus all your attacks directly on the Minerva, smiled Neo. This operation will be more difficult than it looks, but it must be done. The only worry I have is that if that strange ship, the Archangel, were to show up again, if it would stop you from following through with the operation, said Neo as he turned to face the ORB officers. We have been ordered that the person within that strike rouge is a fake, so we will not listen to their words again, said Colonel Tadaka before reverting his gaze from his lieutenant, who was shocked by the statement. Perfect, smiled Neo in delight. Archangel. The ORB forces are moving and it looks like they are heading towards the Minerva, reported Mirialia. Damn it, we have to stop them, said Kigali. I agree with you, but I want the Archangel and you as well, Kigali, to keep a good distance away from the battle, said Kira, to the surprise of everyone. Are you worried about facing Athrun? Asked Murrue curiously. Sort of, I am pretty confident in my abilities that should Athrun engage I will be able to hold him off, but that other mobile suit. That man, Uzumaki Naruto, his skills easily outclass most of what I can do with freedom, and if he sees the opportunity, he will destroy this ship or the Strike Rouge, said Kira seriously. I really hate that man, mumbled Kigali angrily. Kira just flashed Kigali a sad smile because he knew why she hated him so much. Kira might have felt the same way if he had known Naruto had planned on killing Lacus, but the girl hadn't told him of their meeting before leaving the Archangel to find out more about Chairman Durandal. Lacus didn't want Kira to fight with hate filling his heart and knew he would try to strike down Naruto if he learned about the man almost killing her. Well then, we best get moving if we plan on trying to stop the ORB forces from fighting, said Murrue. The others nodded their heads and prepared for the upcoming confrontation. Chapter 20. Battle of Crete. Damn ORB, I will kill them all, growled Shin, as he launched from the hangar and headed right for the approaching Murrue units. Savior launching, relayed Athrun with a hard look in his eyes. He hoped Kira and the Archangel didn't show up and interfere like last time, or this time he would not hold back against them. Epion taking off, said Naruto. His eyes held the same emotionless look they always did, but inside he was conflicted. After the three Gundams had launched, Rei and Luna had both used the lift to get their Zakus to the deck of the Minerva. It was their duty to protect the Minerva from any fire that managed to break past Athrun, Shin, and Naruto. Luna was trying to remain calm, but inside she was a bit nervous as she remembered she now had the permission to activate the Zero system. She knew she was only permitted to activate it if she needed to, but still, it was a lot of pressure. A part of her wanted nothing more to activate immediately to show the commander she had what it took to use it in battle. The more reasonable part of her managed to calm her down and let her know that the Zero system was not to be used to merely show off. It was designed to be used when the situation called for it, and she would only use it when necessary. Minerva, they are preparing to launch fragmentation shells, clear the area immediately, ordered Naruto before kicking his thrusters up to full blast. He would destroy those fragmentation shells before they got the chance to open up and shower the Minerva. Minerva! You heard the commander, evasive maneuvers immediately, and tell Ray and Luna to prepare for impact, ordered Captain Gladys. She was extremely thankful that Naruto had ordered all mobile suits to launch before the ORB forces showed up on the radar, otherwise, they would be sitting ducks right now. Ma'am, the impulse has engaged the ORB Murrue units, while the Savior and Epion managed to destroy the fragmentation shells before they got within distance to us, reported Meer. The Earth forces are approaching us from our right, they are going to trap us, yelled Arthur in a bit of a panic. Damn it, cursed Captain Gladys, as she gritted her teeth in anger at the current turn of events. Captain, they have launched the Chaos and Abyss along with a small contingent of Gundam that are heading right for us, said Meer with a worried look in her eyes. I will handle the Chaos and Abyss, have the Impulse and Savior deal with the rest, ordered Naruto, as he appeared on the screen before closing the link. Right, relay those orders to Shin and Athrun to keep them focused on the ORB forces. Tell Luna and Ray that I want them to mainly focus on the Earth forces while Commander Uzumaki deals with the Chaos and Abyss, ordered Captain Gladys. Battle of Crete. Come on Sting, this time we will finally destroy this damn ship, laughed Owl, but before he could get anywhere near the Minerva, he was forced to dodge to the side as a whip-like structure went through the spot he was in a moment ago. Damn, it's him, glared Sting, as he stared at Epion that was blocking their path. This bastard, it is time we finally kill him, smirked Owl. The fins on the Abyss took aim at Epion and fired 4 beams right at the Gundam. Epion easily dodged under the beams and made to move towards the Abyss, but additional fire from Chaos forced it to change course. These extended are much better than the girl, thought Naruto, as he weaved in and out of the shots. The Abyss and Chaos had managed to keep him on the defensive for the past 5 minutes, which was an amazing feat within itself as very few could keep Naruto at bay for a minute let alone 5. What neither pilot knew was that Naruto had already come up with a plan to disable them, but was waiting for the right opportunity to strike. Distract him for a bit Sting, grinned Owl before changing into his mobile armor form and diving straight into the water. Just hurry up because I don't want to waste my time fighting this bastard all day, ordered Sting, as he continued to unleash a huge barrage of shots upon Epion. Naruto noticed that the Abyss dived under the water and could only sigh because it was incredibly foolish of them to think he didn't know what they were planning. He had been there when the 3 stolen Gundams were built and knew all their capabilities intimately. This is a mistake they would not get the chance to make twice, and quickly prepared to finish off this fight, but then a beeping sound went off and noticed that more ORB ships were coming at the Minerva from 9 o'clock. He quickly ducked under several beams shot at him from the Chaos and floated slightly above the water. A pincer movement, thought Naruto through narrowed eyes. If he didn't do something soon then the Minerva would not only take heavy damage trying to escape, but might even be destroyed. Got you, laughed Owl, as he burst out of the water right behind Epion. The Abyss locked onto Epion, opened all its weapons panels, but right as it fired, Epion cut off its thrusters, and melted right into the ocean. The beams passed through the spot Epion was just in harmlessly and before Owl could react, a hand from under the water grabbed his Gundam's right leg and dragged him under. Owl! Yelled Sting in horror. He couldn't believe what he just saw because it just couldn't be possible. Epion just slowly sunk into the water without so much as a ripple and then a clawed hand pulled the Abyss under. Owl started to panic and fear started to grip his heart, as he couldn't break free and was pulled straight under the water. He was about to transform into his mobile armor form, but Epion grabbed both fins from behind and ripped them off. The explosion damaged both of the Abyss's arms along with its thrusters. Ah! Screamed Owl, as his cockpit started to fry him and the glass on his helmet started to crack. He tried to move his Gundam, but right as he was about to try to escape, Epion appeared in front of him. The boy just watched as Epion plunged its beam saber right through the chest before kicking off the Gundam and watching it explode from a safe distance. Sting gritted his teeth in anger and had his hand on the trigger ready to fire at Epion came out of the water instead of Owl. A loud explosion occurred and a huge amount of water shot up into the air, blocking Sting's view for a mere second. The pilot of the Chaos barely responded in time when Epion's heat rod came out of the middle of the rising water. You bastard, you killed Owl, yelled Sting before changing into his mobile armor form and unleashing a huge barrage of missiles and beams at Epion as it burst out of the water. HN, thought Naruto. He was about to finish off the Chaos when another alarm went off in his cockpit and he looked over to see that the Archangel and the Freedom had arrived. Those bastards again, still trying to get everyone to stop fighting, glared Sting, as he listened to Kigali beg ORB to stop, but they just ignored her. Commander, let me deal with the Freedom, said Athrun with a hard look in his eyes. If that is what you want, I do not have the jurisdiction to give you orders as you are a member of faith like me, replied Naruto, as he turned to face the chaos. Luna and Ray were charged with protecting the Minerva from any forces that managed to get by the Savior and Impulse, but with the involvement of the Archangel. The ORB forces didn't stop firing like last time, but actually redoubled their efforts. Already the Minerva had taken heavy damage, and if it continued then the ship would be destroyed. Luna was panting heavily as she took out as many enemies as she could, but there were just too many. Her Zaku had taken some pretty heavy damage and would be destroyed if she and Ray didn't find a way to better counter their forces. That thought soon disappeared when she heard Ray's scream and looked over to see his Zaku Phantom had been destroyed, and she hoped he had managed to escape. Now it was up to her alone to find a way to counter the attacks or suffer the same fate as Ray. Sorry Commander, but I have no choice, panted Luna, before her fingers flew over to her console and activated the Zero system. Instantly, Luna's mind was flooded with information and her Zaku seemed to move on her own. Kigali, who had been trying to stop the ORB forces from attacking the Minerva, quickly dodged to the side to avoid being hit by a powerful beam, and then watched in horror as over 10 Murrue units were destroyed within moments. She looked down and stared in shock as the Zaku warrior with the Orthos beam cannon started to destroy the ORB forces with incredible accuracy. Her people were being destroyed, and she was about to try to shoot at the Zaku to disable it, but it seemed to read her mind because it turned to fire upon her first. Die, yelled Luna, as she fired at the Strike Rouge. Luna didn't realize it, but the Zero system was starting to twist her mind and the power was starting to corrupt her. An insane look started to appear in her eyes and a smile started to split her face. Naruto! Die you bastard, yelled Sting, as he did everything he could to take out Epion, but the damn Gundam kept dodging. Time to finish this, thought Naruto, but right as he was about to draw his beam saber, he froze. Luna Maria, whispered Naruto, as he sensed the girl had activated the Zero system. This was not good. The girl was still not ready to handle the Zero yet, and if she kept it activated too long, it would drive her insane and she would start to target her own allies. Sting saw Epion pause, and was about to capitalize on the slight hesitation, but Epion quickly transformed into its mobile armor form and took off back towards the Minerva. You running? Growled Sting, but honestly, he was inwardly happy at not having to face that Gundam any longer. Now he could help take out that other bastard who piloted the Impulse. Minerva! Nachon, answer me! Yelled Marin. The poor girl was starting to panic because the life signs coming from within her older sister's mobile were going haywire. Whatever was happening to Luna needed to stop or the poor girl would go into shock. Captain, the Savior has been destroyed by the Freedom and Ray's Zaku Phantom has been damaged beyond repair, reported Arthur grimly. Any word on the pilots? Asked Captain Gladys, who was only truly concerned over Ray. No word yet, replied Arthur apologetically. Ma'am, the Impulse has just engaged the ORB ships, and the Earth forces are retreating along with the Archangel and Freedom. They left the moment the Zaku warrior managed to disable the Strike Rouge, relayed Marin, before continuing to get in touch with her sister. Luna! Ah! Screamed Luna, as she couldn't stop the Zero from flooding new information to her. The battle was over, but she continued to receive information and it was driving her insane. Tears rapidly fell from her eyes and Luna just wanted it to stop because she couldn't take it anymore. Her hand slowly reached for her gun that all pilots were given in case forced to abandon their mobile suits. She gripped it tightly and was about to turn it on herself to escape the pain, when she felt a hand touch her shoulder gently, but that couldn't be right. Luna looked at her monitor to see Epion's hand on her Zaku's shoulder and then the Zero just shut down. You're safe, stated Naruto, as he appeared on her monitor. Just before Luna passed out, she could have sworn she saw a concerned look on her commander's face, but that couldn't be right. Archangel! We failed, cried Kigali, as she could still see the ORB ships being destroyed by the Impulse. Kigali, said Kira before the poor girl hugged him tightly and he gently rubbed her back. He had done his best to stop the fighting, but there was only so much he could, especially when he spent most of the battle fighting Athrun before finally defeating his friend. Minerva! Naruto looked down at Luna with a guilty look in his eyes. He had surprised everyone aboard the Minerva when he had carried the girl to the medical bay. They were all surprised to see that Commander Uzumaki actually cared about someone that they were left stunned. Of course, once they snapped out of their shock they all wondered what happened to the girl who had managed to save the Minerva practically all on her own after Ray's mobile suit had been destroyed. All they knew that she seemed to be suffering from extreme mental and physical exhaustion. The only one who knew what really had happened was Naruto, and no one was brave enough to approaching the brooding commander. You were right, it seems I still do have some emotions, but I almost sacrificed my own ally just to prove you wrong, when you were right all along, thought Naruto with a guilty look in his eyes as he stared down at Luna. What he didn't realize that by admitting this, he had a chance to be saved, but unfortunately, his own guilt was keeping him from realizing this. Epion on the other hand sensed Naruto's guilt, and if one looked closely, they could see that its armor seemed to be fading a bit. No longer did it glow a bright crimson blood red, but now it seemed to be dulling, and on the wing-like structures even tiny minuscule spots of white appeared for a moment. Minerva's bridge. Arthur, give me a status report on the damage, sighed Talia, as she sat in her chair. The damage is extensive, but not as bad as it could have been. Luna Maria Hawk, the pilot of the Zaku warrior, saved us from being completely destroyed. The impulse also contributed a great deal as well by destroying the ORB ships, stated Arthur. Arthur, please try to stay on topic, smiled Talia slightly. Right, sorry, anyway, Rei's Zaku was damaged beyond repair as well as Commander Zala's savior. The Zaku warrior received medium damage and as did the impulse, but like usual, Commander Uzumaki's Epion received no damage and it even managed to destroy the abyss, reported Arthur. Well, that's good, but we have no choice but to dock here for a few more days to repair what we can. Even though we won, we still managed to get beat, sighed Talia. At least we are much closer to Gibraltar than before, said Arthur, hoping to cheer his captain up some. That is true, but with everything that has happened so far, who knows what will happen next, replied Talia with a slight frown. Arthur couldn't refute that comment because it was completely true. Break. Ugh, groaned Luna, as she slowly woke up and felt like someone had been hammering on her head. She soon realized that she wasn't in her own bed and slowly sat up so she could better look around the room. It didn't take her long to realize she was in the medical bay. Why am I here? Mumbled Luna before she suddenly gripped her head in pain as the memories came rushing back to her. Her eyes widened in horror and she soon wrapped her arms around her shaking body. She remembered activating the Zero system and the thrill of power when she started to take out the ORB forces with incredible ease. They stood no chance as she easily analyzed their flying patterns and shot them down before they even came within range of firing upon the Minerva. The part that really scared was when she started to enjoy the power given to her by the Zero. It had always been one of her greatest desires to be recognized as a great pilot like Athrun or Shin, and the Zero made that possible, but it didn't feel right. Luna didn't want to be known as someone who took joy in destroying others. She knew that she had killed many lately, but never had she taken joy in it. This was the main reason she started to fight the Zero system and almost shot herself to escape the pain. You're awake, said a familiar voice. Luna snapped out of her thoughts and looked up to see Naruto enter the room with 2 glasses of water. She gratefully took the one he handed her and drank it slowly. I am sorry about everything and thank you, said Luna with a hesitant smile. No, said Naruto, as he reverted his eyes away from the girl. Luna blinked at the comment, but the next thing he said really surprised her. I am the one who is sorry. I should have never given you permission to activate the Zero, but I let my anger at what someone said cloud my mind, apologized Naruto, as he stared into his reflection in the water. Commander, gasped Luna in surprise, because she had never seen him like this and didn't think anyone had. I put your life at risk, and should you wish to file charges against me for negligence, then I will gladly accept the punishment for my actions, said Naruto seriously. Luna was so shocked that she couldn't only stare at Naruto with wide eyes. She quickly snapped out of her shock when Naruto made to leave and yelled at him to stop. No, I mean, you did nothing wrong, Commander. I believed I was ready to handle the Zero, and if I hadn't used it in that battle I would have never realized how wrong I was. You saved me and I owe you my life, smiled Luna gratefully. Naruto stood in the doorway and had his back turned to Luna as the girl then said something that caused him to look at her curiously. If it is okay with you, sir, I would like another chance at handling the Zero, as I believe I can learn from my mistake and master it so something like that doesn't happen in the future, asked Luna with a hopeful look in her eyes. Naruto looked at her curiously before nodding his head. Meet me in the hangar in the afternoon and we will continue your training to properly use the Zero system, said Naruto before leaving the room. Luna lied back down on her bed and rested her head on the pillow with a small smile on her face. Maybe the commander does care about others after all, smiled Luna before closing her eyes and falling asleep. Later that night. I have to hurry or I will get caught, thought Shin, as he quickly tried to escape the Minerva with Stella. He had overheard the captain talking about how they wanted to deliver her to the plants so they could study her like some guinea pig. There was no way Shin was going to let that happen to the girl. Stella deserved better than that, even if it meant him contacting the Earth forces and returning her to them. At least with them, she would live, and that was better than what ZFT had to offer her. Naruto would have normally stopped Shin before he could even reach his Gundam, but he was having an internal conflict of his own and didn't feel like wasting time capturing some foolish boy. He just stayed in his room staring up at the ceiling and wondering why old emotions were starting to resurface. It was just like when he was aboard the Dominion, and it was something he was not looking forward to deal with again. Chapter 21. Athrun was making his way to the deck of the Minerva as he had been brooding ever since he had battled with Kira and his Gundam had been destroyed. He wasn't brooding because his Gundam had been destroyed, but more like thinking over what Kira had said to him during their fight. His words had reminded of him why he had turned against ZFT during the First War, and now he wasn't so sure he was fighting for the right side. The chairman spoke about peace and unity, but his actions of lately didn't reflect such beliefs. Athrun had reprimanded Shin and Rei for what they did involving the escape of a prisoner, and instead of them receiving any type of punishment, they were let off scot-free. It wasn't that Athrun had anything personal against the girl, but she was an enemy, whether a willing one or not. By releasing that girl, he had returned to the Earth Alliance someone who had the power to handle a Gundam and potentially become a threat to them in the future. Shin was foolish to believe they wouldn't try to involve her back in the war. Despite this fact, the chairman had excused Shin's actions, and now the boy was walking around with a smug look in his eyes. Further thoughts were interrupted when Athrun saw Commander Uzumaki already on the deck staring up at the clouds. This surprised him because he had thought he would be with Luna Maria as the two started to spend increasing more time together. Now that Athrun thought about it, Commander Uzumaki didn't act so cold anymore like he used to, and he actually seemed to be nice, but everyone still kept their distance from the man. Commander saluted Athrun, causing Naruto to glance at him, then nodded his head slightly at the young faith member. It seems we are both confused, stated Naruto, much to the surprise of Athrun. He didn't expect the man to try to speak with him, but now that he felt maybe the commander might understand where he was coming from. I remember you told me when I was with ORB not to join ZAFT, and I am starting to wish I took your advice, sighed Athrun as he leaned on the railing. When I first joined, it was to help bring a swift end to the rising war, but now everything has become so complicated. I used to believe that ZAFT was fighting merely to ensure peace, but it doesn't seem like that anymore. Now I am powerless to do anything, explained Athrun with a hint of anger. You are not part of ZFT, said Naruto. Athrun looked at Naruto with a confused look on his face, but before he could reply, his commander started to speak again. The chairman didn't recruit you to join ZAFT, but to become a member of Faith. Faith is an organization separate from ZAFT that only takes orders from the chairman, as is free to exercise their own actions so long as it doesn't start an unnecessary battle or war with another country or nation, explained Naruto. What are you trying to imply? Asked Athrun as his brow creased in thought. Naruto didn't know why he was helping this boy, but maybe it was because Luna admired him, or maybe it was some other reason. He would think about it later after he finished talking with the boy. If you wish to leave, then as a member of Faith you can turn in your badge without suffering any repercussions, as you do not serve as a part of the ZAFT military. All you would have to do is swear to never reveal any knowledge of what you have learned while on board the Minerva, said Naruto as he started to leave. He paused right before he got to the door and said one last thing that caused Athrun's eyes to widen. It isn't too late for you to join your friends, whispered Naruto, but Athrun heard him loud and clear. Minerva Hangar. Luna calmly sat in her cockpit and was going through another simulation, but unlike before, she wasn't having that much difficulty. Ever since she had used the Zero in battle, she felt her senses had increased, and especially her awareness. It was as if she could feel when she was about to be attacked, and it was an exhilarating experience. The only real problem with these new senses was that she had to learn to control her senses so that she didn't go crazy from them. The more she learned about the Zero, the more she was amazed at the abilities of her commander. She had thought Athrun was an amazing pilot because he helped end the war at Jachindu, but as of lately, he hadn't really impressed her. In fact, if she remembered correctly, her commander had fought against the freedom and justice at the same time, and was still able to beat them. The man was just simply a god when it came to fighting, in her opinion. Damn, cursed Luna, as she was destroyed because her thoughts had drifted off the simulation. Your mind is drifting, pointed out Naruto calmly. Luna just sighed before removing her helmet and glaring playfully at her commander. I know, and it is all your fault, pouted Luna cutely. Naruto merely raised an eyebrow at that comment, but didn't say anything. Hey Commander, how come you didn't push for Shin to receive some type of punishment for what he did? I thought you hated traitors, asked Luna suddenly. I had other problems to deal with lately, replied Naruto, not bothering to elaborate. Well, I know this may seem cold, but I think what Shin did was incredible foolish. I understand he cares for the girl, but how can he trust them to take care of her after everything we have learned about logos? Sighed Luna with a shake of her head. Sometimes, our emotions for our precious people cloud our mind to the truth, whispered Naruto. Flashback. Sakura-chan, stop, yelled Naruto desperately. A beautiful woman with short pink hair turned around to face Naruto. Naruto had just got done killing Kisame and Konan, and was kneeling on the ground trying to catch his breath. He was now 19 years old and possibly the strongest ninja in Konoha now that Jiraiya had been killed by Pain. I'm sorry Naruto, but I love him, apologized Sakura. Why? Why do you go to him after everything he has done to us? That bastard doesn't care about anyone other than himself, glared Naruto angrily, as he slowly stood up. It isn't his fault, it is that cursed seal warping his mind, and I know if I go to him I might be able to save what is left of him, argued Sakura. Naruto clenched his fists in anger before he replied to the girl that he first loved a long time ago. I know very well the effects of the cursed seal as I am a seal master, which is why I am telling you he is lost, said Naruto calmly. No, he isn't, yelled Sakura angrily. Do you think this is easy for me to admit? I grew up all alone and always dreamed of having some type of family. You have become like a sister to me and Sasuke a brother, and I love you both, but it is time we both accepted the truth, yelled Naruto. The Sasuke we know is no more and I can no longer let innocent people get harmed even if he is like a brother to me. Jiraiya-senpai once told me that the hardest thing a ninja had to do was make a decision against someone they love, but sometimes it has to be done. As future Hokage of Konoha I can't afford to let my personal feelings for Sasuke get in the way of my duty. The same is for you Sakura as you are a ninja of Konoha as well, said Naruto calmly. I am sorry Naruto, but you are right so there is only one thing to do, whispered Sakura before using a kunai to create a slash mark through her headband. She was about to take off when Naruto's next words caused her to pause. If you leave, don't ever come back. I love you, and I love Sasuke, but I will not let either of you harm any more innocent people. If I hear that either of you two have entered the borders of the land of fire I will come for you both and I will show you no mercy, promised Naruto with a hard look in his eyes. Goodbye Naruto, said Sakura with a sad smile before taking off. End flashback. I guess, but I still think giving that girl back to the Earth Forces is a bad idea, said Luna. Naruto just nodded his head, but remained silent while Luna started up another simulation. Earth Forces, Russia Base. How do you like the new weapon I have sent you Captain? Asked Lord Jibril with a smirk. It is impressive, but I cannot hunt a ship like the Minerva with such a large unit, replied Neo. Forget about the Minerva for now. I want you to use that unit to quiet down the West as those damn coordinators have started to take over things there, and it is starting to annoy me, smirked Lord Jibril. Very well, I have the perfect pilot in mind to use the Destroy Gundam, smiled Neo, as he thought of Stella. Good, and don't fail this time, said Lord Jibril before closing the link. Neo just leaned back in his chair with a small smile on his face before he got up to take a shower. Minerva. Talia was not in a good mood and it was all because of that boy, Shin. She understood that he seemed to care for the extended girl, but to injure members of the crew then take the impulse without permission and contact the Earth Forces was unacceptable. What is worse, is that the chairman excused him for his actions, and that just pissed Talia off. She liked the boy and was grateful for everything he did, but by letting Shin off, he had become arrogant and started to walk around as if he was above the rules. How did the chairman expect her to control her own ship if he let Shin get away with such stunts without any kind of punishment? Talia was really starting to question the chairman's actions of lately. She didn't get to think any further on the chairman's actions when Marin said something that stunned everyone. Ma'am, reports are in that the Earth Alliance is advancing from Central Eurasia and 3 cities have been destroyed already, reported Marin. What did you just say? Gasped Talia with wide eyes. All ZAFT forces are to remain on standby until further orders, finished Marin with a look of disbelief, as she looked at all the causalities and deaths. Get me Commander Uzumaki immediately and have all hands at level 1 battle stations, ordered Captain Gladys, as she gripped her chair tightly. Hi Captain, saluted Arthur before relaying the orders and hitting the alarm to alert anyone who didn't hear him over the intercom. Battle of Berlin. I will destroy all the bad people, yelled Stella, as she destroyed every ZFT mobile suit along with any civilians. The once great city of Berlin was now being reduced to nothing but a graveyard. Everywhere one looked, there was nothing but death and destruction as the Destroy Gundam used its massive arsenal of weapons to wipe out all life. It was a horrific sight, and only a monster like Lord Jibril would order for such destruction. Stella was about to continue her assault, but stopped when a massive energy reading was detected from above and she had to activate her shield to deflect the particle beam. All of the Earth forces that had come along with the Destroy Gundam looked up to see the Freedom coming out of the cloud and the Archangel right behind it. Stella, be careful, that's the Freedom, warned Neo, as he started to open fire upon the Freedom. I don't care who he is, I'll kill him, yelled Stella before transforming the Destroy Gundam into its mobile suit form to the shock of the Archangel and Kira. It's a mobile suit? Gasped Kira before his eyes narrowed. No matter what, he couldn't allow this monstrous mobile suit continue to destroy innocent people. Minerva! How horrible, I can't believe that one unit could cause this much destruction, gasped Luna, as she had to resist the urge to throw up at the scene. It seems the Freedom and Archangel has engaged the enemy, pointed out Naruto, causing Athrun's eyes to go wide in surprise. Kira, thought Athrun before his eyes clouded over in shame. It seemed the Archangel and Freedom truly was fighting for peace if they engaged in a battle that didn't involve ORB. Captain, said Naruto, as he opened the link with the bridge. Yes, Commander? Asked Captain Gladys curiously. When we get within range, I only want Epion and Impulse to be launched, and you are to ignore the Archangel and Freedom. As of now they are our allies in helping to destroy that machine, ordered Naruto. Understood, and I agree with you, nodded Captain Gladys before closing the link. What do you mean that only you and the Impulse are going to launch? My Zaku is in good enough condition to launch as well, argued Luna angrily. This is not an ordinary fight, and not even I know if I can take down that unit until I am able to fully analyze its defensive capabilities. Should the Impulse and I fall, the Minerva will need one usable unit to protect it while it makes its escape, said Naruto before heading towards Epion. He is right, said Athrun, causing Luna to look at him in surprise. Commander Uzumaki is the best pilot I have ever met, and I don't think there is anyone who can match him in a straight-up fight when he is at his best, but lately, there has been something different about him, stated Athrun. Luna couldn't argue with that logic because Naruto had been acted differently as of lately and had been walking around with a conflicted look in his eyes. Whatever is happening to him, it may affect his fighting abilities, and there is a slight chance he might not succeed in defeating this new enemy. If that happens, the Minerva will need to make a quick escape and you will have to be able to protect the ship should they give chase, said Athrun. He won't fail, stated Luna suddenly with a hard look in her eyes. Athrun looked at the girl in surprise because he had never seen her with such a look in her eyes. I may not know the commander as well as you, but I do know that despite how hard he tries to hide it, he cares for people. The commander will not allow that machine to continue to harm innocent civilians who aren't even a part of the war, especially when he has the power to stop it, finished Luna, as she watched the Destroy Gundam battle with the Freedom. Archangel. Captain, we have detected several incoming heat signatures. It is the Impulse and Epion, relayed Murrue. Receiving incoming message from Epion, reported a tech. Murrue nodded her head and soon a familiar blonde-haired pilot appeared on their screen. Captain Murrue Ramius of the Archangel, the Minerva, Impulse, and I wish to form a temporary alliance in order to help take down the Earth forces located in Berlin. Do you accept? Asked Naruto. You have my word that no ZAFT forces shall attack you even after the battle and will allow you to leave the city without following you, reassured Naruto, as he saw the hesitation of the crew. Very well, I will let our own forces know, and we shall not engage any of your forces, agreed Murrue. Naruto just nodded his head before closing the link and heading off to engage the Destroy Gundam. Battle of Berlin. Damn it, what is with this monster? Mumbled Shin, as his beams were easily reflected by the Destroy Gundam's armor. Naruto was off helping the ORB forces to destroy the chaos and the Freedom was fighting against Neo. Neo noticed that Shin had managed to score a strike on Stella and disengaged the Freedom, then started to attack the Impulse. You, gasped Shin before using his shield to deflect the blasts. What are you doing, boy? If you continue to attack the Destroy, then you will only harm someone you care about, yelled Neo. Shin froze and his eyes widened in horror, especially at the next thing Neo said. The one piloting that suit is Stella, said Neo before kicking Shin in the chest. Once Neo noticed that Shin had stopped attacking, he went to re-engage the Freedom. No, Stella, gasped Shin in disbelief. The man had promised him that he wouldn't involve Stella in the war anymore, but now here she was piloting that monster mobile suit. Shin was quickly snapped out of his daze when he heard an explosion and saw the Freedom take out Neo. His eyes widened in horror as he saw the Freedom head towards Stella, and he quickly went into action. He raised his beam rifle and started to fire at the Freedom before blocking its path. "I won't let you harm her," yelled Shin, as the Freedom floated in front of the impulse. "What is going on?" wondered Kira. He thought that ZFT was on their side in stopping that machine, but here he was being attacked by the impulse. "Just leave her alone," demanded Shin, and was about to fire upon Freedom again, but a familiar heat rod came from his left and destroyed his weapon. Shin and Kira turned their heads to see Epion floating in the air as its heat rod retracted back to it. "Shin, you are to stop attacking the Freedom at once and help with taking out that mobile suit," ordered Naruto, as he appeared on the boy's monitor. "No, I won't let either of you hurt her. She is just a victim, don't you understand?" said Shin before drawing his beam saber. "I understand better than you think, but thousands of civilians have lost their lives and that is unacceptable," replied Naruto. He understood that the girl was probably tricked and manipulated into piloting that machine, but they could not sacrifice thousands of lives because of one person. If he had to, Naruto would take out the impulse and the destroy Gundam, just as he did with Sakura and Sasuke. To save the lives of thousands of innocents, he would do what was necessary, even if it meant taking out a girl who was forced into a war against her will. "If you do not stand aside, then I will take you down as well," promised Naruto, as he swung his heat rod above his head. "I will not let you harm Stella," yelled Shin before charging right at Epion with its beam saber poised to strike. That's it for part 4. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.